Welcome to Fated, a podcast brought to you by Majella and Carlie, two romantically obsessed readers who believe that great books must include declarations of undying love and deep thrusts of desire. Diving into the spicy, smutty fantasy genre, we are here for both the rattling of stars and headboards, and our podcast starts with the worlds of SJM, but delves into other realms. Did we mention that washboard abs and wands of all kinds are welcome in this inclusive and magically charged space? No topic is off limits, and no one is forced to have only one favourite heroine. Welcome to Fated, where we are unabashedly and wholeheartedly hot and heavy for spicy fantasy fiction. It's time to sit down and smut up. Warning, spoilers ahead.
Hello and welcome to Fated. I'm Carlie.
And I'm Majella, and today we are going to discuss something that I feel like might seem really obvious, but we get lots of messages from women saying, you know, we really want to get back into reading. We love that you are so into books. How do you find the time? How do you make it work with your busy lifestyles? And so we wanted to talk about why we make such an effort to read, because I think that when you really value an activity, you will make time for it. And I think that sometimes you might underestimate the impact of an activity. And I think that with reading, Carlie and I, because we had that massive break, which seems to be the common theme of so many women we speak to, is that everyone stopped reading fiction, dived into that self-help development, business, productivity reading, and have rediscovered the pleasure of reading. It's almost like people have forgotten that you still have to have some discipline and consciously choose to make time for something. Like, it does effort the same way maybe that you have to exercise, but also the same way that you brush your teeth. Like, I don't dislike brushing my teeth, and it doesn't take very long, and it's not a lot of effort, but sometimes I really have to talk myself into it to be like, you have to brush your teeth now. And I'm like, do I? And not to say that reading is like that, but there is sometimes fit to reorganize the activities that are in your life, or to make the choice to do it over something that maybe requires less friction to get started, like Netflix, like being on the couch. And I think that this is actually a bigger thing than we realize, because it's become a TikTok trend as well, where there's lots of people who are doing videos saying, hey, if you're seeing this, put down your phone and pick up your book. You know you want to. You know you'll feel better, and you love reading. So why are you scrolling? So I thought it'd be really interesting if Carlie and I kind of shared how we actually create time or find the time to read every day, because we both read every day. Carlie, you want to start?
Yeah, so I think firstly I want to reiterate that I have to make the time. It's especially on the days where I work 9 to 5, so I'm out of the house at 8 a.m. I'm getting kids ready from 6 a.m. Out of the house at 8 a.m. I work till 5. I go to after school care and pick up the kids, and then we get home, and it's literally 8:30 at night before I breathe. And so I can at 8:30 at night go, yeah, I'll jump on the couch and watch telly, or I'll fold that washing or whatever. But if I really know that reading, and I do know this, reading is good for me, I enjoy it, it helps my brain quieten down, all the benefits that I'll talk about in a second. If I know that, then I have to make that a choice. It's like a conscious choice. And that means sometimes the washing doesn't get folded and the dishes maybe don't get fully done, or something has to miss out. So I think that a lot of people see people read copious amounts of books, a lot of books over a year, assume that it's easy or we have lots of time. But for me, that's not the case. I have to make that time, and I have to choose that activity sometimes. But why do I do it? Well, I've got a few things. My list is escapism. So sometimes it's just, oh my God, I want to turn my brain off from the realities of a really full-on busy life. And I know a lot of our readers, our audience, are the same. They want to be readers, but life is busy. Again, it's a choice. But escapism, it's something I can do easily at home. I don't have to leave my house and go to a class, or I don't need to research. Well, I do research what books I want to read, but I don't have to change it. Take that back. And that's easy. That's in an app. And that's probably why I scroll sometimes on TikTok for a bit too long too when I'm not reading. Because I'm like, oh, what about that one? And someone's doing a really cool review of that. And oh, that's a new release. I'll add that to my TBR. It's a bit of admin research time. But what I mean is it's just such a simple thing for me to be able to do from home. And it's affordable. Some would question that, but it's quite affordable. I know that I can get free books. I know numerous places to get free books. My library app, my library, Kindle Unlimited and that kind of things. And so when I know that they're all the fun things that escapism, single focus calms me down, it's a chance for my body to rest. I get to learn new words and learn new things from these incredible authors. I'm inspired. It inspires my own creativity. When I know all of that is there as a benefit, that's why I will consciously choose to go and pick up my book and read. That's why, in a nutshell. What about you? Why do you carve out the time?
Just because I'm a dopamine fiend, I guess.
You could get that dopamine in other ways.
That is true. There is very little friction with reading. I was listening to this podcast yesterday, which I've told Carlie about many times because there was so many good things in it. But he spoke about reading. It wasn't a podcast about reading, but he spoke about reading and about how it is such an incredible skill, like one of the essential skills to have: reading, writing, selling, persuasion, which is, I guess, selling, and something else. Being able to build things, build a concept, build an actual thing, build a program, build a code, etc. But the reading aspect, he's like, that is how you learn. That is how you gather more information. It is so, so important. But to learn it is a skill. And, lots of people don't love to read because you forget that it is something that gets easier and more enjoyable over time the more you do it. So I read a lot as a child. So I had a very fast, sort of like smooth, from learning it as a skill, it became a very easy thing to do very quickly because and the thing that he said that I thought was so important is that you read what you love to learn how to love to read, which I think as a child my mother is a teacher, so she knew that. So I only read things that were so fun like fairy tales and literal fairies in the garden and books about animals and cats and, the ocean or whatever. So I loved it from the very beginning. And because I loved it, I did it a lot. And so then I loved doing it because it was so easy. So then they both kind of fed into each other. So that's why, as sort of my dopamine fix, it is the easiest activity for me. So in a way, I'm choosing the easiest option for me. In fact, it's often easier than even watching Netflix, because I feel like with Netflix, sometimes it's easy to be distracted or to kind of have it as almost like background noise. Whereas with reading, there is, and the other thing he said that was really interesting, which I didn't realize or have never thought about, is that you can read faster than you can listen. So people who are listening to audiobooks, so reading audiobooks, you cannot consume it as fast as you can read. Just the way the brain intakes information, which it doesn't matter about speed. Obviously, we don't care about the speed of how much we read. But I found that really interesting because I struggle a little bit with audiobooks as well. Like I would love to love them because I feel like some of the people that they cast in these, dramatic retellings lets you bring these characters to life in another dimension. But I really struggle. My brain just really struggles to build the world internally when it's coming in through my ears. When it comes in through my eyes, I am instantly in that world. Like it builds it around me like an internal 3D movie, which is wild. So the reason that's why I read is because it's my dopamine hit. It's the same thing. Escapism. It gives me pleasure. It also taps into this aspect of myself that is very important to me. But maybe I didn't realize it earlier, but I need to believe in magic and that there is more than just the 3D reality. Like I love the idea that there are other worlds, other beings, other people, other scenarios. It's something that makes life feel just more special. So in a way, it almost feels like the opposite of escapism. Instead of being like, I'm going to escape into this world, it's kind of like I'm bringing those worlds into mine so that my 3D kind of, ordinary reality starts to become, like has this filter of like stardust through it. And I know that that's sort of not real in inverted commas, but for me, it gives my life this extra dimension. So even though all of that sounds incredible, I still have to put down my phone and stop scrolling and consciously make a choice to not watch another TikTok. I have to consciously say, if I want to read tonight, I need to go to bed an hour earlier than I want to fall asleep. If I stop on my lunch break, I could choose to watch some TV or just eat or flick through a magazine. Or I can choose to I carve out these little moments which all add up throughout the day. Like sometimes I do just sit in the morning in the sunshine for 10 minutes and read my book. Or I have it with my coffee or I have it with my lunch. Like it doesn't like I don't think either of us are precious about we have to read for this certain chunk of time. Like if I don't read for an hour, I'm not even going to start. I'm like, do I have 30 seconds while I'm in this line at the grocery store? Like, yes, I guess I do, which is why I have Kindle on my phone. And I know that you're similar. You take it with you to sports practices. Like, I see you in cafes. You do audiobooks when you're walking sometimes. The payoff for us.
I hit a new level this week. I went through the coffee drive-through and I had to move over and sit for a moment for them to make my coffee, which wasn't that special. But anyway, and I was like, Kindle open, like reading. I read like 2 or 3 pages in the time it took them to bring me my coffee across the car park. I was like, wow, if I could read and drive safely, if someone can make that happen and invent that, like I would be doing that as well. That's why I probably listen to audiobooks in the car, because I want to be still like taking in these worlds. It's interesting when some people, I don't know if you had this experience, but some people say to me, I don't have time to read. I hear that quite a bit from a lot of friends and people, and I see it on forums and in Facebook groups. So I don't have time. I wish I had time. I really want to read. I love that you read. I see how much you read, Carlie, and I wish I had more time. And I'm just quite like blunt with those people. It's like, if I can find time, you can find time. It's just got to be compelling to you and up there on the list of whatever, like things you enjoy or values you hold, whatever. I know that for our family, when my boys were younger, like it was just a non-negotiable that every night we all got on my bed, my husband and my bed, and we all read books and we read to each other. And, when the kids were little, we all read books. That's gone now at the moment because they're 10 and 12 and not really into it. I'm hoping it comes back. But that's high on my value list is having my kids exposed to books and stories, because it's really interesting what you said, just to tie it back in, is maybe it isn't escapism as much as it is bringing that extra dimension and that magic into our current reality. I really love that you said that, because it is so cool to walk around, isn't it? Like and there's so many TikToks and memes on this, like walk around in the real world, but with these stories in our heads and almost like looking for the portal to open to take us into another realm, or like a fey warrior to jump out from behind a tree and like sweep us up and carry us away. Like it's almost like we've got these cool little secrets going on in a really boring work meeting. I'm thinking about this realm and this adventure that my FMC is going on. So yeah, I just wanted to put that in there as well. I really wanted to say that that's a cool way to look at it. I haven't looked at that before, and that is probably why I loved reading as a little girl as well. I definitely escaped from some home conflict. Like my house, there was a lot of conflict in my household when I was little, and I would use books to go and do something elsewhere. But now as an adult, I'm like, it does make life feel a bit more sparkly. How cool. And how cool are our imaginations, and how cool are the things people create and put out into the world for us to enjoy. So, yeah.
Which is why I thought it would be so interesting just to talk about why we make the effort to read and what we get from it. Because it is, like other readers, I think, will find this interesting. Like if you're not into books and reading, you won't care. You won't care why other people read. But it's the same as like why other fishermen use certain, lures, and, when golf people will happily be like scheduling every holiday around a venue that has a golf course, because it's like they understand that fundamentally that is a really important pleasure in their life. But it's not just pleasure, like it gives more than that. So there's everyone's version of pleasure. If it's kind of like a healthy pleasure, is it will give you more than just the dopamine. It will give you that sort of silence in your head. Sometimes it will give you the ability to reset your nervous system. It will give you a different perspective. It might help you shift your mindset. It might remind you of what's possible, or give you hope. It will connect you often to other humans who are also passionate about that, to remind you that you're never alone and that there are lots of good people in the world. Like, I think that everyone has a pleasurable activity that is their kind of, chill out thing. But I think that there are some that where it maybe is, I mean, we're obviously biased, but like, are there people in Netflix communities like talking about, I mean, maybe there are, and they're talking about certain shows and they love it and stuff. But I feel like that aspect where you pull in your imagination, which happens with books because it's you have to create the world in your head. There is something that connects, like the intangible and the unseen, you're the fabric of who you are.
Yeah. That's very profound.
I'm talking about books, it's easy. It's easy to be profound when you talk about
Very profound.
I just feel like it is a portal. It is something really magical for me.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
you obviously too.
And that's why and so that's why we intentionally make the time, take the time when it presents itself. And I mean, since this podcast has started, since we've started our book club, since you and I have been meeting and chatting much more about our books, I do feel excited and inspired about life. I've shared that in a previous podcast. It's like given me another focus. It's not about productivity or how good I am at something or how much money I earn from it or how popular I am on whatever app, or like it's really just, it feels quite sacred and almost do feel like a young girl again. Like it's just a bit giddy, like you're in a club, like you just want to be in a club, talk about your stuff. That's why I love the Babysitters Club books, because I was like, oh, I want to be a club like that. And I just, so I hope that gives people some inspiration for thinking about their habits around reading. And if you're constantly hearing yourself saying, I want to read more, I want to read more, I want to make more time, well, what are the action steps you can take to do that? And could you just experiment and play around with, well, maybe just an hour a week on a Sunday afternoon, I'm going to just go, that's it. Or I'm going to put my phone away in another room for half an hour at night and just do that. Can I don't know, just put the binge watching on hold for like a week. It'll be there still when you want to go back to it, but have a play with it, because I find that most people, when they start to dabble, it's just becomes an addiction / obsession. So be warned.
And that's when you come to our club.
Yes.
Our club is very well.
Absolutely.
All we talk about is this stuff. So come and join our club. You'll also feel giddy and special.
Yeah. Rated is about romantic fantasy. But if you follow me on Fable, I also read a lot of romance and some lit fic and other things as well. I'm happy to talk to anyone about any books at any time. Yeah, just really fun. Really fun. So that's why we make the time. We take the time to read. Yeah. So that said, please come and join our book club, because it is growing, and we are going to very shortly be putting up a poll for our July book. So you can come in and get some new book recs, add some books to the to be read pile, maybe try some new authors and some new books in July. So come in and say g'day and let us know where you're from. We'll be in there. And if you want to join us right now, we're reading ACOTAR, which was the book that rekindled this obsession for us. So it's perfect time. Yeah. Other than that, we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah. Ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao. Happy reading. See you later.
Thank you so much for listening. We hope that you felt like you were eavesdropping on a conversation that you have been dying to have with someone to discuss all the tiny details and possible plot twists of the books that you've recently read. Perhaps you don't have someone to chat to after you finish one of those epic books, so please give the show a follow and we would be honoured to be your book-obsessed friends. But mostly though, we hope it was fun, it gave you a giggle, it made you gasp or encouraged you to pick up a different author. Please share it with someone who you think would also love it, and drop us a review, letting us know what you loved and what you want to hear from us in the future. We will be back with another episode soon. Happy reading.